Every second you watch this video, the United States racks up another $4 million of debt. By the time you finish this sentence, the number is already higher. By the time this video ends, the country will be billions deeper. And here is the truth almost nobody understands. This debt will never be paid. Not in 10 years, not in 50, not ever. But the story does not end there, because the government has already chosen a way out, and it is not the way you think. They are not planning default. They are not planning spending cuts. They are not planning higher taxes. They are planning something far more powerful, something governments only attempt when they are cornered. They are preparing a reset that quietly drains the value of every dollar in your pocket, a reset that uses Bitcoin and gold as weapons, a reset that shrinks a $37 trillion debt at your expense. And almost nobody sees it happening. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how this plan works, why it is already in motion, and why 2027 is the year everything changes. If you understand what I am about to show you, you will see the United States in a completely different light. If you do not, you will be one of the millions wondering where your purchasing power went. Let's begin. When you owe money, you have to work more, cut spending, or sell something to repay it. Governments do not work that way. They control the currency. They can change the rules whenever they need to. They can redefine what a dollar is worth. They can revalue the assets they hold, and they can make debt disappear in real terms without paying the principal. This process has a name, a monetary reset, and the United States has done this before. During the Great Depression, the government was drowning in debt. Deflation was destroying the economy. So President Roosevelt made a drastic move. He made it illegal for Americans to own gold. People were forced to turn it in for $20.67 per ounce. After the government collected the gold, Roosevelt changed the official price. He raised it to $35 per ounce. That was a 69% jump overnight. The government created billions in new value simply by changing the price of gold. And since the debt was denominated in dollars, and those dollars now had less value, the real burden of the debt dropped sharply. Ordinary citizens who turned in their gold watched the government reprice it and instantly gained nothing. Their dollars simply bought less. That was a reset. And the playbook looks very similar today. Today, the United States owes $37 trillion. Debt to GDP sits around 130%. Interest alone is more than $1 trillion a year. By 2027, interest could hit $1.8 trillion. And that is only the interest, not the principal. You cannot fix this through taxes. You cannot fix it through spending cuts. The math does not work. There is only one realistic path: reduce the real value of the dollar. But they cannot simply print money the way they did in 2020. Inflation would explode instantly, and the world would panic. They need a method that looks responsible and even innovative. That is where Bitcoin and gold enter the picture. In early 2025, the White House announced a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The public explanation was all about innovation and national security. The real goal is accumulation. The government wants Bitcoin before they revalue it. They already hold more than 200,000 Bitcoin from seizures. New legislation proposes acquiring 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. And they're doing it quietly, through seizures, through fines, through mining partnerships, through back-channel purchases. The goal is simple: acquire Bitcoin at current prices before they assign it a much higher value later, just like they once did with gold. Imagine the government accumulates 1 million Bitcoin at an average cost near $120,000. That is about $120 billion in total acquisition cost. A small number when compared to the scale of the debt problem. Then in 2027, they make an announcement that changes the world. For reserve accounting, Bitcoin will now be valued at $1 million per coin. Instantly, their $120 billion position becomes a $1 trillion asset. The market then moves upward toward that price because the largest holder in the world has set the floor. But here is the important part. When Bitcoin rises, the dollar falls. The revaluation of one is the devaluation of the other, and Bitcoin alone is not enough. The second leg of the reset is gold. The United States holds 8,133 tons of gold. At market prices, that is roughly $700 billion. But on the government's books, that gold is valued at only $42 per ounce, a number frozen in time since the early 1970s. That outdated valuation is intentional. It gives them room to reprice the gold upward whenever they want. A realistic reset scenario is a revaluation to $20,000 per ounce. At that price, the gold reserve suddenly becomes worth more than $5 trillion. Combine that with a $1 trillion Bitcoin reserve, and the government has created more than $6 trillion in new balance sheet strength without collecting taxes or cutting spending. This is how you erase debt without paying it. If gold rises from 2,800 to 20,000, the dollar loses most of its value relative to gold. If Bitcoin rises from 100,000 to 1 million, the dollar loses most of its value relative to Bitcoin. And that loss of value spreads through the real economy. Food prices double, energy prices jump, rents climb faster than wages. The cost of living surges. A person with $100,000 in savings suddenly discovers that their money buys what $35,000 used to buy. But the government benefits. The real value of the $37 trillion debt falls sharply. They get relief, you pay the cost. This is not only an American strategy. Many countries are preparing for a monetary reset. BRICS nations have been buying gold at historic levels. China likely holds far more gold than it reports. Russia has been reducing its dollar reserves for years. India continues to accumulate as well. Once the United States revalues gold, the global price adjusts. Every country with large gold reserves gains relief. Every country with large dollar debts gains a path out. This is why the reset is likely to happen in a coordinated window, not through formal agreement, but through shared incentives. Here is the most realistic sequence. 2025, accumulation. The United States quietly accumulates Bitcoin. Politicians begin speaking publicly about gold backing and digital assets. 2026, crisis. A debt ceiling confrontation, bond market stress, rising yields, a sense that the system is under strain. This creates the justification for extraordinary measures. 2027. Reset. The government announces the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Bitcoin is assigned a much higher reserve valuation. Gold is revalued to a number high enough to support partial backing of the dollar. Inflation surges. Debt melts in real terms. This is the window to watch. The winners are clear. The government, early Bitcoin holders, people with physical gold, countries with large reserves, and wealthy investors with real assets. The losers are everyone holding dollars, savers, retirees, bondholders, pension funds, anyone with a fixed income. The middle class suffers the most. So, what can you do? First, reduce exposure to dollar-based assets. Avoid long-term bonds. Avoid large cash balances. Second, accumulate hard assets. Physical gold, Bitcoin if you understand custody, productive real estate, commodities. Third, remove high interest debt. If inflation hits hard, your wages will not keep up. Fourth, diversify internationally. Hold assets in more than one country and currency. Fifth, build skills and community. During currency resets, real skills and strong networks matter more than savings. The final choice. Nothing about this reset is accidental. It is the logical outcome of the debt math. It is visible in policy, and the timeline is already forming. You can ignore it and hope it will not happen, or you can prepare and protect your purchasing power. When this reset hits, those holding hard assets will survive. Those holding dollars will not. The choice is yours.